All right. So this has to do with the things that I was saying. Here in the information that I found, it says set rules, but according to my experience, setting rules is not something positive. Okay, because when kids or even any other people listen to the word rules, they think about uh, violating them. Like, I don't know if it is by nature or behavior thing, but it is kind of challenging for them. They like to break the rules. So I prefer to call them agreements. And with agreements, you make them feel important. you know you make them feel important, and they are being part of the process, when you create them. So when the time comes, when you're facing any situation, then they realize that they're not doing good. Okay, and they realize that they committed themselves uh, in the process of creating a set of agreements. So so I would recommend you to create agreements instead of creating rules. Okay, now here we have some other tips. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna ask. Okay, Walter, can you help me to read this, please?
Yes, make it clear to all students that they are valued and that any differences between them have no bearing on how they will be treated by you or others in the classroom. Be approachable to all your students, not just the ones that are easy to deal with. Don't refer misbehavior to administration and or guidance unless you absolutely have to. Part of classroom management involves keeping each child in the classroom as much as possible and helping students address their conflicts with you or other students within the classroom. Remember that you have that day-to-day relationship with each student and that they must trust you and be more willing to work with you to address their misbehavior than with other school staff.
Okay, thank you very much. So so make it clear to all students that they are valued. Hmm. Words have power. Okay, words have power. That's why we got to be careful with the things that we say. Okay, so when you're working with kids, remember. Okay, always remember that your words have power. Okay, your words can build, but also your words can destroy. Okay, so be careful when you talk to a student. Okay, uh, be careful on the way you give feedback. Okay, so make things clear. Okay, for them, and make them feel that they are valued in your class. Okay, that they are important in your class. For example, one of the things that are important, it's that when you're teaching in public schools or private schools, when one student didn't show up, okay, for any reason, okay, some teachers, they don't even ask, hey, why you didn't come yesterday? Okay, and then you start like observing, right? Teacher's job is not just teaching a class. It goes beyond that. Sometimes we become investigators. So uh, you talk to the student, and you make him feel or make them feel that they are important, right? When they don't show up, you ask them, hey, why you didn't come to classes yesterday? What happens? Are you okay? Right? Is your family okay? Hey, we miss you in the class. All those words make them feel important. Sometimes students are through a lot of problems in their homes. Probably their parents are getting divorced. Probably they don't know what to do. Probably they are having a relationship and they don't know, they don't trust their parents and they don't talk to them. So it looks funny, but teachers become moms and daddies at the same time without extra pay. So it is funny, but it's true. Um, we have to observe and we can save life, we can save life. Even one smile can save a life. Most of the times, kids are having troubles and they feel sad, okay? And then sometimes with a smile or sometimes like by asking them how they are, how they feel, we can change, we can change their day, we can transform their life by just a simple word. And we have to be aware of that, we have to be aware because being a teacher is a commitment that you have with yourself and with the society. Okay, so never forget that. Make them feel valued. Okay, all of them are important. And those kids that misbehave are the ones that have more troubles. Okay, never forget that. Okay, don't tag anybody. Okay, don't point your finger at anybody because uh, most of the kids that are trouble, a troublemaker, they have very difficult background. So, and they need more attention, of course. So be approachable to all your students, not just the ones that are easy to deal with. And this has to do with what I said, okay? Don't make your groups, okay, your favorite, the ones that give you the homework, the ones that say hello, the ones that bring you the apple, okay? You have to treat them equally, okay? Because you're the teacher and you have to be fair. It says don't fear misbehavior to administrations or guidance unless you absolutely have to. Here, guys, when you're having misbehavior problems in your classroom, by the way, do you know what is misbehavior? Yes or no?
Yes, when someone is not behavior okay in a good manner.
Okay.
Yes, I,
Yeah, that's right, Miguel. Thank you. Misbehavior, it's how a student is behaving, right? Like the word says, like it's there. I mean, sometimes it's one or more acts, right? That students take or attitudes that they take that are not according to the agreements that you have set, One of the misbehavior can be talking and talking and talking in the classroom and not paying attention to the class. That could be a serious problem because like at the end they don't know what you teach, you know. So another common misbehavior is that they make fun of others, you know, and then you have to learn how to deal with those misbehavior problems, You have to deal with them and not just telling them, okay, I'm gonna take you to the principal's office, So you have to learn how to fix, or wash your clothes at home first. And then if you really have to do it, if you can't stand the situation anymore, then you go to the administration's office or something. Okay, here we have more tips. Okay, I'm gonna ask, let me see. Gabriela, would you mind helping me to read this? Gabriela Sorto?
All the information, sir.
Yeah, always model positive social.
Okay. Always model positive social skills such as empathy, tolerance, patience, problem solving, and effective communication. Never forget that a person is not the same as their behaviors. Never label them or marg I don't know how to pronounce that word.
Continue, no worries.
Marginalization. Do regular check-ins with all of your students in short conference. Use whole class relation techniques. Ensure all the students are assigned some kind of responsibility or role that make them feel a sense of belonging in the classroom environment.
One more. There's one more.
Speak to students privately when addressing individual misbehavior.
Okay. Thank you very much. So here it says always model positive social skills such as empathy, tolerance, patience, problem solving, and effective communication. Okay. If we stop talking about each of them, we would spend uh, the whole afternoon talking about this. However, we do not have the whole afternoon. So empathy, um, it's one of the things that I would say that are difficult to build. However, it's easier for some, but not for everybody. Um, Putting yourself in other one's shoes, it's important in order to teach better. Okay. For example, if I don't think, if I don't think about my students, that I can then I can just teach and teach and teach and talk and talk. And if I'm not thinking about my students, then I'm not having empathy with them. I'm not being empathetic. Why not? Because I'm just focusing myself in me teaching, but I'm not focusing on my students, which is the most important part. Empathy has to do with many things, not just the teaching skills that you use, but also with problems. Okay, imagine that I left a homework and probably one of my students worked a lot and probably he had a bad week, right? And he was so tired that he couldn't bring the homework. So having empathy has to do with that, right? And I can say, okay, hey Alban, I know your situation. Okay, so no worries, bring the homework tomorrow. Okay, and then in that case, I'm having some empathy. I'm being empathetic because I understand others situation. Okay, and I take advantage of that. And then Alban says, oh, thank you, teacher. uh the other teacher wasn't like that, right? Etc. Students do that. However, empathy is like that, right? It's thinking about the others, and as teachers, having empathy, it's important. Okay, but don't get confused. Having empathy doesn't mean that every week that student's gonna do the same. Okay, so it has you have to set some limits. Okay, now tolerance, patience, and all that, well, you probably know what it is, and you probably know that as teachers you must be patient, you must have tolerance, otherwise select another career. Okay, now, problem solving, uh, this part, I would say that is one of the most important nowadays because companies are looking for this, okay? Problem solving skills. As a teacher, we have a big responsibility for developing these problem solving skills, okay? We have to teach things focusing on that, or solving problems, especially local problems. So in English, for example, you can integrate activities. Okay, like if you have an investigation, a research, then you can direct your research based on a common problem or a small problem of the community, and they're going to be practicing the language, and they're going to be solving a problem in their community. So this has to do with life, because like in nowadays jobs, they need that. Okay, they want you to solve problems, not to give problems. So never forget that a person is not the same as their behavior. So never label Now, labeling students is like tagging them, having, how can I say, tagging them, that's the word that I would use, but there's another word. Oh, you don't have to have stereotypes, you know what I mean? Like maybe the previous teacher told you about one student that misbehaved, but maybe you can uh, learn how to treat that student, because sometimes they just need attention, sometimes they just need attention. And um and then if you find a way of dealing with this student, and you can find a way of making him work, then you won't have problems. He would love you forever, and he would be glad that you took the time, to talk to them and help him, and they don't forget that. Okay. Now it says do regular check-ins with all your students in short conferences, right? uh, Check-ins would be like, like how they feel, if they're doing good, knowing a little bit their life, about their life. How's your work? Hey, how are you before the class? Those moments are important. Okay. It says use whole class relaxation techniques. Maybe in one of the classes you can have what a mindfulness activity. Okay. Maybe you can have a karaoke activity, something for relaxing and practicing the language, of course, right? Then you have this one, ensure all your students are assigned some kind of responsibility. Okay, so assigning roles or responsibilities to your students improves the atmosphere, because they feel important, and they kind of appreciate that you think about them, Then we have speak to students privately when addressing individual misbehaviors. This is important not just for students, but also at work. If you become a manager or principal or something, never address people in public. Okay, never talk to people in public like, "Hey, Miguel, you misbehave," and blah blah blah. Right? No, just at the end. Okay, just tell the student, "Hey, can you stay for a second? I need to talk to you." Right? And then you start like talking, to that student, and then you start telling it, "Hey, what happens? Why do you do this? What's wrong? Tell me. I can help you. I'm here for facilitating. And blah blah blah." Right? So when you start talking to that student, maybe you realize that that student needs help, because probably his parents are getting divorced. Maybe he's being abused, you know so there are many things that you're going to realize when you become a teacher, you know and it's a big responsibility, I'm telling you. But that you are but you are in this boat, so so you have to do it. So right now, before continuing, um we're going to have a short discussion about common misbehaving problems. Okay, even though if you don't have experience, okay, even though you don't have experience, I want you to share the most common misbehavior problems that you could find in a classroom. Okay, remember that your teachers. Okay, remember when you were at school, and think about those problems that they had. Okay, think about those problems and think about how they solved it in those times, and think about how you would solve it nowadays. Because remember that nowadays, physical punishment are not good, because you're going to jail if you do that because of the Lepina law. And discuss a little bit of that, okay? So I'll give you about, can somebody see how much time do we have for the call? Because it doesn't appear here. Guys, can somebody check? No?
21 minutos.
Eso tenemos de 21 left o 21 llevamos de hablar.
De hablar.
Okay. So tenemos about 15 minutes. Okay. So I'm gonna give you 5 minutes for discussing, and then we're coming back. Okay. So we're gonna be working in trios.
Opinion. Well, for me, there are some people in the classroom who had misbehavior, like stuck in something, stuck in a subject, for example. So they have to do the things better than they are doing in that time in order to improve their problem.
How about you, Katie?
Well, I think when one or some students um, talk much in the class and sometimes uh, they um, don't do the assignments, or maybe mm, or when how can I say it? Whether give your opinion, I'm going to uh, think my answer.
Okay, I am going to give my opinion. Uh, I think I agree with you too, with you both. That one misbehaving could be that students talks a lot and during class. I think that's very common in kids. I think the teacher should know how to manage those kind of problems. And let me think of another misbehaving. When doing activities, uh, teachers should know when to do dynamics games with depending on the age, if they are kids or there are teenagers or adults. So sometimes things get like messed up and the they don't follow instructions and
Um, it's very dangerous if we do that in public. It can allow a damage, a problem psychologically. I don't know if you know what I'm saying.
Yes,
Uh,
it's true. It's true because when you correct in front of the rest of the class, you automatically generate a bad reaction to the students. And
yes, a negative.
probably next time we will not want to participate and we will be quiet.
Yes, yes, that's true. I think we are only two. We are here only you and me, because there is no more people here.
I think that Lily is here. I don't know if she have turned off her microphone.
Girl, do you want to say something?
What, me?
Ah,
Lily?
or it's a boy. Sorry.
That's me.
Oh, it is the teacher.
Okay.
But in
Yeah, I'm
the
just monitoring.
participants,
Okay.
Lily is here. She appeared here. I
Oh,
don't know.
she's in the chat. She's having some problem because it's raining, she said. So maybe she
Oh,
can participate in the chat and you can read.
okay.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. But yeah.
Hey, that's right. Sorry, guys, for the frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those
that some students are shy.
So you guys finish or what?
We're
Oh,
done.
Done?
I think so.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Right.
Because the other one haven't finished yet. They're, talking. So I'm gonna give them 1 more minute, okay? Then we come back. How much time do we have left, guys? Can you see there? Chicos, ¿pueden ver cuánto tiempo tenemos?
Yo no.
No, alguno ahí que pueda. A mí no me aparece aún, no sé por qué.
Bueno, mi llamada se cortó, así que no sé si fue mi internet o en sí fue la llamada, pero en la pantalla puedo ver 5 minutos 40 segundos.
Ah, eso nos queda entonces quizás de tiempo. Ok.
Aunque no va en cuenta regresiva.
Ah, quizás es el tiempo de las mini talks. Porque les faltan
Supongo.
50 segundos para que regresen todos. Es que cuando finalizo los grupos aquí, les da 1 minuto y algo para que terminen de hablar y luego terminan, ¿verdad? Así es que así está la cosa. Ya en un ratito ya regresamos y empezamos otra vez. Y estamos a punto de terminar, unos como 2 slides más y ya está. Okay, they're coming back.
I think we have like 7 minutes left.
Okay, like 7 minutes left. All right, that's good. All right, so there were some more tips here, but I'm gonna ask you to read them like at home, okay? Now we're gonna move to, I'm sorry, to this part. It says turn problems into teachable moments, okay? During your discussions, something that really caught my attention was that many of you were saying that we're talking about correction, and correcting students in front of the other ones, it's not a good way. There is a technique that is called peer correction that we could use that is also wonderful. That maybe if a student made a mistake, you can ask one student to repeat. For example, well, actually we have 10 minutes. So for example, imagine that right now I start asking people to read, right? And imagine that I ask Alban, and Alban doesn't know how to say moments. Okay, imagine that he says moments, right? Okay, so I don't, as a teacher, I don't go and tell, no, Alban, that's not correct. Okay, if I do that, what happens? Alban is not going to participate anymore. Alban is gonna be, no, mejor no, verdad, lo voy a hacer mal. So Alban is going to start creating barriers, So how can we avoid this problem, right? We can use peer correction. Okay, I can ask Katie, for example. Katie, okay, thank you, Alban. So after he finishes, I said, thank you, Alban. And I asked Katie, can you read it again? And Katie can start, okay, turn problems into teachable moments. Okay, can you repeat, guys? Can you guys repeat? Y no me dirijo a Alban, sino que I direct my attention to the whole class. So Alban realized that he made a mistake. You know what I mean? And then he correct himself, right? And he said, it's not moments, it's moments. Okay. And then you start teaching, that is one way of correcting that you can use in the classroom, and it is called peer correction. So we have this. Too many times we see problems as a setback of some sort. Instead, we should be viewing these as teachable moments, as something to build upon. Try to make a positive spin and get students' interest in talking the steps to solve it, okay? This This not only develops problem solving skills, but also team working skills that are so vital in the classroom. So when you have a problem, you can take advantage of the problem and you can ask your students to solve it, okay? How can we solve this problem, right? And then that problem is going to turn into a teachable moment, all right? It's an opportunity of teaching. Now, classroom culture has to do with the setup, you know, the setting of your uh, desks in the classroom. Now, the way the classroom is arranged will have a massive impact on the way students work. Now, the traditional classroom is like this, like the figure number one, you know, like in lines. However, a good way for me would be maybe the hexagon shape, right? Or maybe the U shape, you know, I like this one, the U shape. So when you're teaching, make sure that you try to have a space here in the middle so you can have a space for developing activities or even for having eyes contact with your students. Having eyes contact with your students will help you to have a control, okay? Especially those difficult cases, right? So you just go and then you touch the desk so they know that you are there and then you are observing them, okay? So sitting arrangement, it's something important. The first thing that I do when I enter to a classroom is this, the sitting arrangement. Sometimes in higher education, it's not possible because we have many students in one single classroom, okay? And we cannot have the chance to do this. However, when you're working in English academies, when you're working in public schools and you have only 25 students, yes, you can do this, okay? So remember that sitting arrangement can change a lot of things and it can help you to have a better control, okay? Now, this is the peer correction that I was talking about. So peer correction is a classroom technique where learners correct each other, okay? Rather than the teacher doing this, okay? So as the example I gave you, um, the same students can correct themselves, you know? Without saying, hey, you made a mistake, or without laughing, or without doing some other things. You just ask another classmate to repeat, and that's it, you know? And that's it. Without humiliating someone or without making somebody feel ashamed, you know? So, example, it says, using a computer room, each learner quickly writes a short text on someone who has inspired them. They then move to the next terminal and correct the next learner's text. These rotations continue until they come back to their work. In the classroom, peer correction is a useful technique as learners can feel less intimidated being helped by others in the class, okay? So when you have created a good classroom atmosphere and then you have enough confidence and then you can identify those really brilliant students so they can help you with the other ones that are having troubles, you know, and you can use them as tutors in the same class. And then if you get this atmosphere, then your class is gonna be really, really good, okay? Now chat with each student individually, okay? Find small spaces to talk to your students, okay? To ask them if they are having problems, how they feel, likes, you know, so get to know them, okay? Sometimes we don't have time for that, but I mean, try, you know, try when they're working in small groups, okay? Now here in the conclusion, having a good classroom culture will facilitate your job in the classroom, okay? You have to keep in mind the level of your students, their age, social background, their behavior problems, and most important, you have to accept them, okay? So in conclusion, you need to know your students, okay? You need to be aware where they come from, okay? And the problems they have, all right? So So getting to know them is the best way to help them, okay? And then you will realize that by doing all of this, your students will remember you as a great teacher. They don't care if you graduate from Harvard. They don't care if you graduate with a cum of 10 or 9.8. They care about the attention that you gave them, okay? They care about the love that you spread, you know? So that's why students remember their favorite teachers, you know? Because they had something special that differentiate them from others, you know? So as a teacher, you need to have a heart, okay? Your students are like your other kids, you know what I mean? And it's hard. I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's part of our jobs, you know, it's part of our jobs to keep them, you know, there and helping them, you know. They will appreciate that, and then I'm pretty sure that you will generate impact in your communities and in the society, you know. And then a little by little, we could change the situation of our country, okay? So this is everything for today's lesson, guys. Here I left some supplementary resources if you want to check, okay? For this week, we're gonna work in a collaborative activity, which is a mind map. You're going to create a mind map about the information of classroom culture, and you're gonna be working in pairs, okay? Remember that each of you will upload the file, okay? Even though you're working individually. Of course, you're having the same score.
Sir,
Yes, sir,
me.
yes.
In my case, I couldn't find the presentation at the platform.
Oh, let me check, and then I'll double check them.
Okay, okay, thank you.
All right, is there any question before leaving? We have 1 minute. No questions? Okay. Well, if you don't have questions, guys, it has been a pleasure, and I'll see you next week, okay? Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Blessings.
Okay. Bye-bye. Blessings.
I hope you get well very soon.
Thank you. I'm gonna try.